Jeez. What's up, everybody? I just cleansed my face. This part is healing really good. New skin is on the way. I beat my face. You got to get all the impurities out. And my hormones, this side of my face broke out so bad. So I had to beat it. But while I was beating my face and doing my little facial routine for the night, um, I caught, and this is a mango butter, oatmeal milk, and honey bought from one of the elders. One of the elders. Nothing like them old black women to help you get your skin together. She's like, honey, just stop wearing the makeup. You got to detox your skin and all this stuff. And I'm like, and this stuff, I mean, she keeps her ingredients pretty simple. She used rice bran, arrowroot powder, avocado oil, shea. They'll get you together. So my face is still chafe on this side, but next week my skin will be beautiful and new and looking great. But I was catching the All the Smoke podcast. I don't watch this show. This is Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. I've heard of it before. Actually, the last time I heard of All the Smoke or even paid attention to it was when they were going back and forth with Kwame Brown. When Kwame started getting hot on YouTube a couple of years ago, and Matt and Steven, they were going back and forth with Kwame, and it was just this little dude, I don't know, back and forth. And at the end, they just thought they realized it was smart enough just stand down. Because I don't agree with everything Kwame Brown says, but Kwame Brown is definitely not a shill or a puppet to the Democrats. But we do see he's more on the Republican conservative side too, so we can't be too trusting of a fella. But anyways, you guys, Jesus loved me. Jesus loves you too. All praise to Yeshua, the King in heaven. But we're talking about Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris is doing this interview with All the Smoke, right? She's with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. And Matt Barnes, I believe he's Italian and black. And they were just throwing her all kind of this was the softballiest interview ever, right? They really made it comfortable for her. And maybe it was intended to be comfortable for her. But they spent the first 6 minutes of this interview talking about basketball and, Oakland. It was just like, really? Like, I had to skip through it because I didn't want to hear all that BS. Like, I really thought that they were going, here are two black men. These are two black, one of them looked black, little Chico DeBarge looking dude, but one, Steven Jackson, right? Steven Jackson. And I like Steven Jackson because he did kind of go into, he talked about 19 Keys in this interview and how, her administration would help these grassroots organizations that some of those brothers were doing to empower brothers and help elevate the mental health of some of our brothers on the streets dealing with trauma, especially post gang life, stuff like that. Those are very important conversations. And I do like what she was saying, in terms of her work and her priority towards, helping our brothers with that mental health. Because, hey, even if somebody leave gang banging, you better believe they've seen enough to traumatize them for the rest of their life. I feel bad for people like Lil Durk and Lil Baby, some of these real life gangbangers that they done drafted into the music industry to glorify their life. I feel bad for those brothers, right? They're probably having to relive their traumas over and over and over and over and over again. But hey, that's what happens when you sell your soul, Dirk. You knew what you was doing. But anyways, Kamala Harris said something very interesting in this interview, and Matt Barnes asked her, let's listen to what he asked her. And this is just fair use.
Securing your identity, who you are, but what do you feel and what do you think when you hear people kind of questioning just the fabric of who you are?
Well, one, I don't listen to it. I'm really clear about who I am,
And
and
this
if
is just
anybody
fair
else is not, they need to
usage.
go through their
That's
own
their
level of
issues.
therapy. That's not my
That's
issue.
their issues, right?
My mother was very clear. She was raising two black girls to be two proud black women.
So I'm perplexed. If your mother was clear that she was raising two black girls who were going to turn into two black women, why did you run as the first Indian, divorcing the blackness, Kamala? See, this is what makes Kamala Harris perplexing to me is how people will divorce their blackness and reclaim their blackness, when it is convenient. I was listening to Meghan Merkel one time, and see, I look at Kamala Harris. For some reason, my brain cross profiles these type of women, just not just because they're from California, but just character wise. And I think of Meghan Merkel, and Meghan Merkel said something really interesting, and it reminded me of that movie, Imitation of Life. I watched it when I was a kid with my mom, and there was the main character was this biracial woman named Sarah Jane. And Sarah Jane, decided that, because she could pass as white, she wanted to live as a white woman, right? And she and this is during the time, right, of, when there was a lot of inequality in America. So obviously, if you could pass for white, a lot of biracial women did that to make life easier for themselves, right? And hold on to that point, y'all, because she's going to say something else, right? She's going to talk about the 1/8 rule, right? This 1/8 rule, right? And obviously, that was a racist rule to determine blackness. So if you were just, 1% or this small percentage of black, right, then you were considered black. Well, I had to tell a lot of the white supremacists, right? Because there's a lot of white people in this nation who believe that they are pure. And, you can believe that all you want to, but we need to run your DNA so we can identify those mulatto slaves that are running through your blood, right? A lot of white people run around here. They know they would have been black if that rule made more sense, all right? And there are still mulattoes to this very day passing as white, right? So don't get too comfortable with your white supremacy. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, right? What's perplexing to me is if your mom,
Who I am, and if anybody else is not, they need to go through their
That's
own
their
level of
issues.
therapy. That's not my
That's their
issue.
I
issues,
feel
right?
like you
My
need to
mother
go
was
to
very clear. She
therapy.
was raising two black girls to be two proud black women.
How are you? Okay, so if you're a proud black woman, why did you let the Democrats divorce your blackness? And when you ran for Senate, they propped you as the first Indian American, right? The first, not the first black woman, like your mom told you that you were, right? Kamala Harris, her blackness came from her mom, according to her. Her mom raised her as a black woman, which kind of makes sense because then, that'll make sense with the HBCU stuff, right? But she says that her mom raised her as a black woman, which I think is pretty hard to do as an Indian woman, right? But we all try. But I don't understand then why you would run as the first Indian American. Like somebody explain this to me, right? Explain it to me. Explain it to me. Your mom said you were raising strong black women, right? That's what she said. And then you allowed the Democrats to strip your blackness away and have you running as an Indian American for Senate. And see, my issue with some of these ambiguous people is that blackness is this leverageable thing. And I'm getting back to Meghan Merkel because that was my point about Meghan Merkel. Meghan Merkel said something to the effect in one of her interviews. I wasn't even, I never thought of myself as black or something like that until I got with Harry, right? Like, even though this was a biracial woman, Meghan Markle said something to the effect of she was not associating herself as a black woman before she got with Harry. So, a lot of these ambiguous people, right? They leverage blackness to me when it's convenient, right? Because I don't understand, because she seems to have a high reverence for her mother, and she should. I look at Kamala Harris and I see like this, like I see a very, I kind of see my story because I was raised by a single woman. And I gotta believe that Kamala Harris's mom was very similar to mine, where she raised us with the gracefulness of a woman, um, but she also raised us with the strategy of men. And we have, I think, I think her mom, definitely, I don't think this is a bad person. She's a leverageable person. They're leveraging her, of course. But I saw this interview. I didn't see a bad person. And I really went into this interview wanting to see her as a person. But I do see a complicated person who doesn't have any firm conviction of her identity, right? Because I was very surprised when she said this.
I don't listen to it.
Okay.
I'm really clear about who I am. If anybody else is not, they need to go through their
That's
own
their
level of
issues.
therapy. That's not my
That's their
issue.
issues, right?
My mother was very clear. She was raising two black girls to be two proud black women. And that was never, it was never a question. It's funny because over the years, journalists, some, not most, will want to talk about it. And I say, okay, if you want to have this conversation, I'm prepared to have it, but sit down and get comfortable for a few hours. If you want to start talking about race in America, you want to talk about what, the 1/8 rule? You want to talk about what it means in terms of who you are perceived to be and the impact that can have on the rest of your life, regardless of who you actually are in terms of your God-given capacity and the
So I feel like Kamala Harris is stating the case that I look like a black woman. I look like a black woman. And, regardless of what anybody, regardless of any other lineage that I may have in me, right? The American consensus is that I look like a black woman, right? Um, and here's the thing. I like I said, I do believe in cultural delineation. I do believe that people can culturally immerse themselves, but I also concede to the cultural conditioning of people in America, and especially black looking people, right? Because Matt Barnes said it. He goes, I'm black and Italian, right? But people are always going to look at me as a black man. Well, Matt, you do have a foundational Black American side to you, you know, but these conversations do get a little complicated. They do get a little complicated because, culturally, or I would say lineage wise, Kamala Harris is a Caucasian. She is a Caucasian, right? But culturally, she's black, right? And so now there's this thing where people can be culturally black. Rachel Dolezal, culturally black. Kamala Harris, culturally black. But these are not black people. So how do we reconcile this? How do we reconcile this? And I think the easier way to do it is to say, hey, let's not sell these culturally black people as black. Let's sell them for what they are. Okay? She is more on the caucus side. She's more East Indian, right? First of all, they shouldn't have been selling her as a race in the first place. They should have been selling her based off of her skills and capabilities. So they have complicated this conversation anyways. Kamala Harris has allowed them to complicate this situation because she has allowed them to sell her as an Indian. And then when it was convenient, right, sell her as a black woman, right? The first black, right? So we were already on a stupid train with this already, right? We were already rolling on the stupid train with this already, and it just got more and more complicated. So now it's kind of like one of those things where Kamala Harris, you can say, oh, they just need to get mental health or whatever help for questioning my race, but you are being very ambiguous about who you are right now, right? You allowed them to sell you as an East Indian. There was no first black and East Indian in that Senate race. That was East Indian, right? East Indian American, right? Now we're sliding into blackness when we're going towards the presidential race because obviously we need the black people vote. So I don't know, you guys. Look at this video. It's the All the Smoke special edition with Kamala Harris. She's and it was to
you
me.
Want to talk about
it was just
what it means in terms of
the interview in general. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. All right, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson. Really, she must have either paid them to do this so that she can get some black people cred. I don't know, because in terms of trying to get what people needed, this was just a bag of garbage interview. This was just a publicity run for me. They softballed her the whole way, right? They did not challenge her, right? And this is why Kamala Harris needs to meet with Umar. She needs to do an interview with Umar, right? She's picking these soft beta men, beta black men to interview her, right? And they're just gonna give her this. They're gonna give it to her, right? They're just gonna give it to her, right? She needs to. I want to see Kamala Harris and Umar Johnson. Just pay that man. Pay King Kong consciousness and have a dialogue with him. Because this All the Smoke interview with Kamala Harris, they could have kept that. They could have kept that. They could have kept that. Like, I'm serious. Like, and Steven and Matt, no disrespect, but y'all softballed. Y'all softballed her, right? It's not about woman hating. It's not about woman bashing. It's about this woman is saying she wants to lead your nation. And you saw both of y'all sat there and softballed her. Shame on you. Shame on you. What will we do with these people? What will we do? I really don't care how she identifies. I don't really care how people identifies until their identity becomes leverageable in some way, right? She could have identified as a damn unicorn for all I cared, right? But, the minute that you start code switching, the minute you start going off script to who you've been selling yourself, it's like, I'm a black American woman, all right? My mama, her mama, her mama, her mama. We've been here since the 1800s. We been up in here, all right? We are foundationals to the core, all right? All right? I know who I am. I know who I am, right? I know who I am. And as a black American woman, I concede to something, y'all. I do. I'm a mutt. I am a mutt. I'm a mutt. Because I'm an American descendant of slave, I am not a pure-blooded African, right? I'm a mutt, right? I got that European, I got that Native, I got that Black. I got all the powerhouse American bloodlines in me, all right? But I'm not code switching, though, right? Because obviously, I'm an American descendant of slaves. That's who I am, right? I'm not about to put on a sari, put a little thing in here. I'm not gonna say that I'm Haitian. I'm not gonna say that I'm Cambodian. I'm not gonna, even though I love them bitches' hair. I'm not gonna say that I'm anything that I'm not, right? This woman code switched on us. She was not claiming her blackness. Her own mama, she just said, my mom was raising two strong black girls who were going to be strong black women, and then you ran for Senate as the first Indian. You're a code switcher, Kamala. That's why black people don't trust you. You let those people code switch you. And yes, when you look at Kamala Harris, if I saw Kamala Harris walking down the street, I promise you, I would think biracial black woman all the way. And so she's absolutely right. When people look at her, they see a black woman, right? They see a black woman, right? And she's not wrong about that. If I was walking down the street and I saw Kamala Harris, I would see a mixed, she would look like a mixed person to me. She looked like she was either biracial or her people came from them people from the islands that were biracial, right? But she got black looking features all the way. She definitely got some African descent in her, right? But when you're talking about what is a black woman, right? You know, like I said, Corinne Jean Pierre, she looks like a black woman, right? But she's a French woman. She's a Haitian French woman that has come to America, and they sold her as the first black White House press secretary. So they keep selling these ethnic bags of garbage to black people, but they never give black people our flowers. And that is the issue. That is the issue. That is the real issue for me. And she's a code switcher. She's not really about who she is. If she was firm in who she was, she would have never dismissed her blackness in that Senate run. She would have never dismissed the blackness in the Senate run, like ever. So, I mean, be who you want to be. Shoot. If you want to be a unicorn, she can be Hulk Hogan tomorrow. I don't care. But this is not a person true to themselves. This is a leverageable, ambiguous person. This is a leverageable, ambiguous person. That's my assessment. And this is not, I'm not trying to demonize the person's character either, because I'm looking at this woman in this interview and she doesn't seem like a terrible person at all. She doesn't seem like an overtly wicked person. Ambitious, yes, but not overtly wicked. She doesn't have that, but she's leverageable. She's leverageable. If we are measuring blackness, your position, I'd be Trumpians, more black. Trump and I don't know what that means, Mark. But anyways, you guys, check out that interview. Let me know what you think. And I will say this. She tried to catch Stephen and Matt one of those times. She was like, my best friend Stacy, and we used to ride in her Cadillac, and it was just a complete miss. It was a complete miss.
That's what you think. That's
Oakland,
that's
right?
what you think.
I mean, they spent the
Italian
first over 6 minutes of this damn interview talking about basketball, right? And then Matt Barnes set her up for every single thing by adding this personal experience to make it very easy for her
I had my
to.
seventh, that little boy 2 weeks ago, but I have 3 stepchildren that are mine. And being a dad was natural. Being a dad to my 4 sons was natural, but learning to navigate not wanting to step on toes. How do you earn the love and the trust? How did you?
He asked Kamala Harris, you ain't got no kids, and people be talking about that. What do you say about that? Right? Like, I don't know. She ain't even got no black kids. She ain't even.
It was really important to me that I knew what he and my relationship would be before I formed a relationship with the kid.
I do respect her for what she did with her and her husband doing the kids, though. It's like, I respect that approach so much. I wish that men and women would get like that. Stop introducing your kid to everybody you just started kicking it with. Like, to me, if you don't see marriage in sight, don't have your kids around these people. They're not their daddy. They really shouldn't be acting as anybody's daddy until you have clear marriage in sight. It's so weird to me. Here's the thing. I have not dated since my kid's dad. Like, I feel like he still got me on lock because I really don't be dating like that. Like, he already know. I think that's like his solace though. He was like, I don't ever worry about my baby mama because her ass ain't dating nobody. She ain't got no man around my kids. That man is just mad comfortable. I probably need to move on with my life. But no, we good with our kids. Like, I don't want nobody around my kids. I don't want anybody around my kids. My kids are comfortable in their own house. My son is the man of the house. And my son, like, he just started talking about he want to allow me to date because he want a dude to teach him how to shoot guns. He wants somebody to take him and go shooting when he gets older. But you know, uh, people be having these people around their kids. I like this approach.
Kids.
She was not around his kids until she knew that their relationship was going to go somewhere because she didn't want his kids to get attached to her, right? If it didn't work out, that is such a respectful way to approach dating people, and people with kids. It's like, if I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is what I told my brother one time because he was dating some chick and he had just met her and they were FaceTiming and this woman was putting her daughter on the phone. And as soon as he got off that call, I happened to be visiting her one time. I told him, you get rid of that broad right away. He was upset because he was all getting emotional with her, but she didn't qualify. She did not qualify. One thing about my brother, he will listen to his older sisters. We assess the women that he date. And if they don't qualify, they don't qualify, and he will get rid of them. So this girl talking about she's a massage therapist and 40 years old, living with her mom. Dog, if you don't drop this bad habit, please, sir, and she's showing you her kid real quick. Don't trust no broad that introduce you to their kids right away. All right. Do not trust a broad that introduce you to the kids or even a dude. Right. Right away. That person, there's something wrong with them. Right. And you should feel bad for the kids too if they do that because there's probably a lot of trauma going on there because their mom is a loser. All right. But big ups to Kamala Harris for her approach with her husband's kids because I do like that.
Because that's just it
Can't
from
be
my
in and out. You
perspective.
don't want to be
And
in
it's
Word up, Kamala. I agree with you on that. I don't think she's a bad chick. I could probably have a drink with her and I'd be like, girl, I don't want to be drinking on camera. I love me some vodka. But I'd be like, why are you letting them leverage you so much? Like, how does it feel being a Democratic puppet? Like, this is the kind of drinking buddy I would be with Kamala Harris. Like, and she'd just be, I bet you she, like, girl, you can be honest with me. You ain't got to chuckle. Tell me how you really feel.
teach our kids how to drive. Clean up.
So, catch out this interview. I just thought that that was an interesting notion that she said that her mother raised her and her sisters to be strong Black women. And then she turned around and let the Democrats sell her as an Indian. You need to be true to yourself, Kamala. That's all I got to say to you. Just be true to yourself. Anyways, you guys, thanks for tuning in. If you guys are just tuning in, I had to detox my face. All right. And so this side is healing, but the idea is that after it's peeling too. But after all that, it's supposed to be new skin. I am detoxing from makeup. I don't like makeup. I wear it, sometimes very little bit when I'm doing business meetings, but I'm really trying to get away from makeup. So I'm detoxing my skins of all the impurities. And so obviously when you beat your face, this is what it looked like. So you will see me and I will look better. But I tell people all the time, if you're new to this live stream, then you're like, what the hell? Why does she look like this? Get used to it, right? Because I look like crap on my live streams. I'm not trying to be pretty. We're just having conversations and talking about things over here. But if you dig the conversation, hit that subscribe button and let's keep them going, right? Check out my latest live streams too. I'm talking about those bald-headed beta men that can't stand that Black people, Black women wear weave. And I just be wearing my Cambodian hair. I don't care what you think. I'm not your woman. Right? I'm not your woman. Right? I'm not your woman. And don't want to be, probably, because if you that bossy, we don't align. Right? Anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will catch you on the next one. Catch that softball interview, All the Smoke, Vice President Kamala Harris interview, All the Smoke, special edition, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, softball interview, two grown, big, tall machines wilting to somebody who don't even know if they're black or white. Bye, y'all.